Hello, and a warm welcome to our weekly show, Love Athletics. In this program, we bring you the latest highlights from our sport with expert input from different continental areas. And we're delighted to have back with us again today as our guest journalist, Kenya's Elias Makori. Hello, Elias. Lovely to see you, and a big thank you for joining us.
Good to see you, Anna.
Now, Elias, before we check out the news from the last 2 weeks, I'd like to ask you how you started your involvement in our sport. When did you get the athletics bug?
Well, Anna, it's a very interesting story, and it is thanks to one gold medal that made me get into loving athletics. That was in 1986. I was in high school, and one athlete was one class ahead of me, Owanda Kironchi, came from the World Junior Championships with a gold medal in the 1500 meters. That was in Greece in 1986. And he came with it to the dormitory. And then we looked at it and said, hey, this is great. This guy has conquered the whole world. And then again, he later went to win his second gold medal in the juniors in 1988, beating Nordin Mocheli in the final. Then again, the same school I was in, Cardinal Otunga High School, which is in Kisii, west of Nairobi, western part of Kenya. I was in the same class with the two great sprinters, Kennedy Ochieng and Kennedy Ondiek, who went on to become Kenya champions in the 100 meters and 400 meters. So we had a school that had world-class athletes. They were shining all the way from the juniors. And that's how I got. I tried doing the steeplechase, Anna, but I couldn't make it. So I decided to start writing about athletics when I was in high school, writing about my classmates, writing about their exploits whenever they traveled. I traveled with them, watching people like Kennedy Ondiek winning, getting to the quarterfinals of the Olympics in 1988 in Seoul. Kennedy Ochieng winning the Africa Championship. 400 meters. These were my classmates, and they really got me hooked up into the sport. And since then, I've been following track and field.
Wow, that's great. Very sporty school you were in, huh?
Exactly.
Now, Elias, as well as being a top journalist, you have long been organizing seminars nationwide, both to nurture young journalists and to inform and educate athletes. Tell us, what led you to start these initiatives?
Well, actually, as you know, Anna, our Kenyan athletes are a bit timid when it comes to talking to the media. They're shy. They have a lot of stories to tell, but sometimes they don't open up. So I thought it will be good to try and do some media training. I've done several media training workshops for the athletes, not only in track and field, but also in other sports, just to make them come out better. I've been working with people recently, like Bridget Kosgei, and other top athletes, and they're improving slowly. They're getting the confidence, and even during the Olympics in Tokyo last year, I remember telling them, "Hey, look here. If you're not comfortable in English, you can speak in your own mother tongue, your language." And some athletes actually did brilliant interviews that we then translated into English, and it kept on giving them the confidence. So I thought these workshops will help them know more about the media, know that the journalists are their friends, not enemies. There's been this misconception also among the athletes that journalists are the people who write bad things about you. So I've been trying to go out there and show them, hey, we are partners in the sport. We are your friends. We are out to help you become stars. And the same thing applying to track and field writers, athletics journalists. I've been trying to mentor them. I still continue to mentor quite a number in Kenya, and also I'll be soon going to Botswana to do a workshop. I've done a workshop in Ethiopia, Addis Ababa, and just to help them learn that there's more than just running, more than the times. The human interest stories behind these athletes are fantastic. You tell them and people will love the sport. So also, out of this passion of telling the stories behind the athletes has been driving me to do these workshops, Anna.
Yes. Now, it's not only about media training, because I was at one of them, and you also had talks from the regional expert about doping?
Yeah, I've been inviting. Actually, I must say thank you very much to the outgoing CEO of the Anti-Doping Agency of Kenya, Mr. Japta Rugut. He has really supported me whenever I have these workshops. He sends his team to talk about issues on anti-doping to the athletes to educate them and enlighten them on the banned substances and the do's and don'ts. Normally, before COVID came, we used to have viewing parties where during the major marathons, London, Berlin, Chicago, New York, Tokyo, we bring the athletes together to watch the race. But before the race, just before the race, we go through this training, media training, talking about doping issues, because then, they learn, and after that, they watch the race. So it's a open atmosphere friendly, and we hope to resume now that COVID has slowed down a bit. The world has opened up, and indeed, gatherings are allowed in Kenya. For the last 2 years, we couldn't do it because of COVID. So yeah, anti-doping education has really, really been integral to these sessions that we've been holding.
Yeah. Elias, finally, tell us about another aspect of your involvement in athletics as a race organizer.
Yeah, Anna, it's been, it's interesting because where I come from is a place called Kisii, and that's where, the pioneer athletes actually came from. The first Olympic gold medalists for Kenya in the 10,000 meters, Naftali Temu was from that area. And since Naftali Temu won gold in Mexico 1968, no Kenyan has won a gold medal in the 10,000 meters at the Olympics. So there's a lot of talent, and everybody around the village was asking, you're a sports journalist, you write about athletics, why can't you help us, rediscover the talent that we have? People like Naftali Temu, if they could come out of this place, it means there are many more. Then I started organizing the 10K road race in 2003. It's called the Kebirigo Road Race, and interesting enough, a lot of people have come out of that race, not only from Kisii area, but in 2011, for example, one young man called Dennis Kimeto finished third in the 10K race, and he went on to break the world record in the marathon. We have people like Caroline Rotich, who went on to win Boston Marathon, Caroline Kilel, who also won Boston Marathon. So a lot of stars came out of this race, and that inspired me to continue organizing it, and getting friends to help in sponsorship, getting presents like the racing shoes, training shoes, and just to keep the community running. That really inspired me. I said, because of the contacts I've made in athletics, why can't I use these contacts to put together an event that will help the young people? And indeed, it's amazing how many young athletes have come out of that race and gone on to win medals or to win major races, including athletes from the neighboring counties of Kericho in particular. We have Mercy Cherono. You won't believe it if you look at the photo that Mercy, winning her first. She actually ran the 10K and won as a junior, and went on to become a champion in 5,000 meters, a world champion in the cross country. I mean, it's amazing that this talent was just lying around waiting for an event to spur them. That really encouraged me and motivated me. The last few years, we've not been able to hold the race, unfortunately, because of COVID and other reasons. But now we're looking at bouncing back maybe next year, 2023, and organizing it again. And, to keep on encouraging these road runners and athletes who will be good in the 5,000 meters, especially, and 10,000 meters, where Kenya is really, really struggling. Uganda has really come up. Joshua Cheptegei, 5,000 and 10,000 meters. Kenya, since Eliud Kipchoge won in Paris in 2003, and then Benjamin Limo in 2005. Kenya has been struggling to get a champion in the world in 5,000 meters. 10,000 meters is the same story. Mo Farah came, Cheptegei came. Kenya is battling to get somebody who can really dominate the 10,000 meters. And events like this encourage people. And one day I'd like to see somebody coming from these races and going on to win a gold medal in the 10,000 meters or even the marathon Olympic or world title.
Oh, thank you, Elias. So that was fascinating. Congratulations.
Thank you, Anna.
Let's look now at what's been happening over the last 2 weeks before we come back to our guests, starting with indoor meets. The World Tour continues to heat up as more top athletes debut their indoor season and gear up for the World Championships in Belgrade next month. Strong performances came in U.S. meets. In Clemson on 11 February, Randolph Ross improved his 400 meters world lead to 44.83, becoming the only man to run under 45 seconds indoor this season. In Chicago on the same day, Cooper Teare clocked a world-leading 3:50.17 in the mile, climbing up to seventh best performer ever. In Boston, Canadian Gabriella Debus-Stafford clocked 14:31.38, also a world lead in the 5,000 meters, making her the fifth best performer ever. Another top mark came in Spokane in the 600 meters, where Donovan Brazier clocked 1:13.97, a world lead and the second time in history after his own world best from 2019. Under 20 U.S. athletes also shone, with Leonard Mustari winning the 60-meter hurdles in Clemson in 7:55, which equals the world best, which was set by China's 2004 Olympic champion Liu Xiang in 2002 over the 42-inch hurdles, while 17-year-old Roslyn Willis won the 800 meters in Boston in 2:00.06 PB and the third best under 20 result indoors. 16-year-old Sophie Gorrigan clocked to 2:00.58 for fourth spot in the same race to set the under 18 world indoor best. A day later, Boston saw a stellar 5,000-meter race with 3 continental records. Grant Fisher of the U.S. smashed the NACAC area indoor record with a time of 12:53.73, becoming the first North American to break 13 minutes and is now the 5th fastest man in history, behind 4 African greats, headed by Kenenisa Bekele and Haile Gebrselassie, but just ahead of Eliud Kipchoge. He was followed to the line by Canadian Mohamed Ahmed, with Great Britain's Mark Scott in third, bettering his own European record, to in turn become the first European man to run under 13 minutes indoors with 12:57.08. And finally, the Asian record fell to Thailand's Kiran Tuntivate, who clocked 13:08.41 in ninth, with other athletes setting national records. Now, Elias, US and European athletes have been making great strides in indoor distance races. Ethiopians are holding strong in the longer distances, but Kenyans have been lagging behind this season. What are the reasons for this timid showing by Kenyans in indoor events?
I think maybe they're afraid of traveling during the winter. But no, on a serious note, I think in Kenya at the moment, it's a very, very busy cross-country season. And I think the athletes prefer using the cross-country as a launch pad for the season. They don't want to travel too early in the year, to go for the indoors and then come back into the cross-country again and go back into the track. I think that is one element. And the second element, I think Kenya really needs big stars indoors. And I can assure you that things will change this year and going into next year, because I know a strong team will be selected for Belgrade. We have, for the first time ever, Ferdinand Omanyala, a sprinter going for the 60 meters. He had his, first tour in Europe, indoor tour recently. And from the races he ran, he broke the Kenyan 60 meters record 4 times, running 6.66. Then he ran 6.63, improved to 6.60. And in the final race in France, he ran 6.57. So that progression shows you that He's improving. He's attracted a lot of people to follow the sprints. It's amazing because once Ferdinand Omanyala came up, broke the 100 meters Africa record running 9.77 in Nairobi last September, we had the first outdoor track and field meeting in Nairobi a couple of weeks ago. And for the 100 meters, Anna, there were 150 athletes. There were 19 hits. I mean, last year we could hardly put 2 hits together. So you see the impact one person can make. Ferdinand will go to Belgrade, and I'm sure he'll do well. Then that will reawaken the interest in indoors. You'll have more people running, the 3,000 indoors, 800. I believe they need one big star to come and tell them, hey, apart from the outdoors, there's an opportunity to, make a name indoors. So I think it's both the cross-country season interfering sort of with the indoors, and secondly, there are no role models for the indoors to really encourage others come up. But that I'm sure will change in the next 1 or 2 seasons.
Wow. Thank you, Elias. Let's go back to what's been happening. So the high jump meeting with music in Banska Bystrica on 15 February saw Olympic 4th placer Korea's Wo Sang-geok produce another impressive result as he cleared 2 meters 35, the second mark on the top list this season after his own 2:36 10 days before, making him a hot favorite for the world indoors. And Australia's Eleanor Patterson, competing in her first indoor event ever, set a world lead and an Oceania indoor record of 1.99 meters as she took a surprise win over a high-quality field, which included the Olympic gold and bronze medalists Mariela Sitskene and Yaroslava Magušik. Performances got even better as 3 World Indoor Tour gold events took place within a week. Liévin on 17 February, Birmingham on 19 February, and Toruń, Poland on the 22nd of February. Liévin once again produced outstanding results, first and foremost in the distance events, with the first world indoor record of 2022. Jakob Ingebrigtsen continues to amaze, setting the world indoor record in the 1500 meters with 3:30.60 in his very first indoor race. Following this performance, the Norwegian confirmed that he will be competing at the World Indoor Championships next month. In the women's mile, Gudaf Segai was planning to attack the world record, but she fell in the first 100 meters of the race, but still managed to win in a top level for 21.72. In the 3,000 meters, Ethiopia's Dawit Sayaum clocked a world-leading 8:23.24, well ahead of compatriot Ejgayu Taye, making her the third best performer of all time. In the corresponding men's race, Lamecha Girma led a trio of Ethiopians in a tight race, clocking 7:30.54 to beat 10,000-meter Olympic champion Selemon Barega, 7:30.66, and Getnet Wale, 7:30.88. And Bahrain's Birhanu Bale placed fourth in 7:31.44, an Asian indoor record. On the shorter distances, Tokyo silver medalist Grant Holloway chalked up another top performance in the 60 meters hurdles as he improved his world lead to 7:35 and now owns the fourth best marks on the indoor lists. Other world leads came from Russia's Angelika Sidorova, improving to 4:85 in pole vault, and Cuba's Lázaro Martínez with 7:21 in the triple jump, first man over 17 meters this season. And while Samuel Zaleke clocked 4:57.00 over 2,000 meters. Italy's Marcel Jacobs continued his winning ways over 60 meters with a third victory in as many races, clocking 6:50, marginally slower than his 6:49 in Łódź 6 days earlier, ahead of 3 U.S. sprinters and Kenya's Ferdinand Omanyala. The Italian Olympic champion is tied in 4th place on the season's list, but he is the most consistent sprinter, with 5 marks between 6:49 and 6:53, counting heats and finals. Also interesting in Liévin was Yulimar Rojas' foray into the long jump. The triple jump Olympic champion and world record holder set 2 Venezuelan records of 6:77 and then 6 meters 81 to win the event. Two days later, at the next gold event in Birmingham on 19 February, highlights came from Mondo Duplantis, who increased his world lead to 6 meters 05 with a very near miss at 6 meters 19, and Britain's Keely Hodgkinson, who only turns 20 on 3rd March, who raced to a new national record and world-leading mark of 1:57.20 in the 800 meters to climb to number 6 in the all-time list. It was the teenager's indoor debut this season and produced the fastest indoor time in 20 years, after the current world record, which was set in 2002, on the very day that Hodgkinson was born. And in this race, Australia's Catriona Bissett placed second in an Oceania record of 1:59.46. Double Olympic sprints champion Elaine Thompson-Herah also made her indoor debut in Birmingham with a win, clocking 7:08 over Daryl Nieta's 7:11. Australia's Eleanor Patterson took another win with 1:97 to 1:91 for Mariella Sitzkene. And another notable mark came in the 400 meters, where third-placed Briton Edward Falls beat the 38-year-old European indoor record of Thomas Schönlebe, clocking 46:16. At Renault-Lavillonie's All-Star Perche meet in Clermont-Ferrand, also on 19 February, victory went to Angelika Sidorova, who improved her world lead to 4 meters 87 over compatriot Polina Knoros, who with 4 meters 81 moved to second place in the season's list, while Dutchman Menno Vloon took the men's contest with 5:87. And finally, on Tuesday, 22nd February, the third World Indoor Gold Tour event in 6 days took place in Toruń, Poland, with some excellent results by home athletes, particularly sprinter Eva Svoboda, who defeated Olympic champion Elaine Thompson-Herah 7:03 to 7:04. The Pole, who excels at shorter distances and holds the world under-20 indoor record since 2016, had run a sizzling seconds flat in Łódź on 11 February and 7:04 in the heats there. She now owns the 3 best marks of the season, with the USA's Mary Beth St. Price and Elaine Thompson tied with her in third. 5 days after her fall in the mile in Liévin blasted her record hopes, Ethiopia's world and Olympic bronze medalist Gudaf Segai clocked the second fastest indoor mark ever in the 1500 with 3:54.77. The only athlete to run under 4 minutes this year, Gudaf Segai came close to her own world record after a solitary cavalcade from 600 meters to the finish line, increasing her lead over the pack all the way. Other top marks came from Femke Bol over 400 meters, who raced to 50.64, taking back the world lead with a clear improvement over Russian Polina Miller, who had dethroned her by just 1/100th of a second the previous week. And the third and final world lead came in the men's shot put, this time causing heartbreak for home fans, as Croatia's Filip Mihajlovic threw 21.84 in his first indoor event this season, defeating Poland's Konrad Bukowiecki by just 1 centimeter. Poland's Alan Abdam shot, the reigning 800-meter world indoor champion and double outdoor silver medalist, who announced that he will retire at the end of the indoor season, took an emotional lap of honor in front of his home crowd after finishing the race in 5th. The South American Indoor Championships were held in Cochabamba, Bolivia on 19 and 20 February. The best result came in the shot put, with an area indoor record of 21 meters 71 by Brazil's Darlan Romani. He was a fourth-place finisher at the last Olympics, World Championships, and World Indoors. And this mark saw him briefly lead the season's list. There was also a good battle in the long jump, with Peru's Jose Mandros Martinez landing at 8 meters 17 ahead of Uruguay's Mariano Lassa at 8 meters 10. And Brazil's Rafael Pereira clocked 7:58 in the 60 meters hurdles for the fourth time this month, equaling the South American indoor record, which he had set in Berlin and repeated in Mondeville and Val d'Oreuil. The best result among the women came over 60 meters, where Brazil's Rosângela Santos raced to 7:24 ahead of compatriot Vitória Cristina Rosa with 7:25. Now, Elias, it's been a brilliant indoor season so far. Tell us, who are the athletes who have impressed you the most in these first months?
Of course, I'll be biased and say Ferdinand Omanyala, because the 4 races is run, first time for a Kenyan to be out there. And of course, Marcel Jacobs, he's maintained, was brilliant in Tokyo in the 100 meters in the sprints, and then again now being consistent indoors. I really look forward to, Belgrade. Fortunately, I'll be traveling to Belgrade, and I look forward to, wonderful performances that will then be a very, very good preview to Eugene, the Outdoor World Championships. So yeah, it's been a brilliant indoor season, and it's going to be brilliant again at the Outdoor World Championships. And for Kenya, the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham in July. So a very, very busy track and field season, Anna.
Definitely. Now let's check what's been happening in road events and cross country. On the World Cross Country Tour, the Agnes Tirop Memorial took place on 12th February in Eldoret, with many Kenyan and international champions announced in the race, honoring slain 215 World Cross Country gold medalist. Victory in the women's race went to Kenya's Joyce Chepkemoi, ahead of World 5,000 meter silver medalist Margaret Kipkemboi and Nesphine Japleting, with the World Under-20 cross-country champion Beatrice Chebet in fourth. In the men's race, Samuel Masai took a surprise victory ahead of Nicolas Kimeli and Michael Kibet. Now, Elias, this was a race whose significance went far beyond what happened on the field that day. Tell us about it. What made the Agnes Tirop Memorial so special?
Well, Anna, it was special in very, very many ways. It was a new venue, a completely new circuit, which again is on land owned by the first African to win the Boston and the New York marathons. That is Ibrahim Hussein. He set up a course on his farm, and it was a brilliant brilliant course. Everybody's saying we can't wait for next year again to be back there. Again, it was the same winners, the 2 senior races from the national championship. So it also showed some consistency both in the men's and women's races. But most importantly was the main cause for the day, the fight against gender-based violence. Agnes Tirop dying a really tragic death. Everybody is still in shock until today. And it was particularly amazing that apart from the races, there was a tent set up right in the middle of the course, offering education to young girls who are prone to gender-based violence. And at this tent, the people who are giving advice were not, consultants from, outside. It was actually the athletes themselves, led by a multiple London Marathon champion, Mary Keitany. She was really in the forefront, and also Viola Lagat, who is, ran her first marathon in New York last November and will be running in Boston. She was at the tent and with Mary and all the top athletes, Janet Jepkosgei, really talking to the young athletes about this. It's been a big campaign telling the athletes they need to speak up, especially the athletes from the Kenyan Rift Valley. They are very timid. They go through a lot in their homes, but they don't talk about it. But after what happened to Agnes last October, everybody felt that it's time to speak, and they're speaking out more. And it's good to see other athletes encouraging them. And it's good to see a big event like the Agnes Tirop Memorial being on the World Athletics Circuit, which means next year it's going to be there again. And, the gospel of the fight against gender-based violence will continue. So it's not only a talking shop, it's not something that will run out of steam. It's a campaign that will continue. And we hope we'll not see such a bad incident happening again, that losing, one life lost is one too many. And Agnes was special. She was at the peak, and it's really devastating. So it was a memorable event, and in many ways, and I'm happy that it has helped create, sensitize, Kenyans and the world about gender-based violence. And it's good to see athletics helping in this fight against gender-based violence, and the athletes agreeing to speak, led by Mary Keitani. And also, interestingly, we had the event live on TV. NTV broadcasted it live, and there were 3 commentators, all of them former athletes. So athletes are also graduating into doing TV commentary. We had the 2008 Olympic 800 meters champion Wilfred Bungei. We had one of the great milers from Kenya, Martin Keino, and Viola Lagat herself. She made her debut in commentary. So lots of good stories to tell from the Agnes Tirop Memorial, but most importantly, a very, very good platform to talk about gender-based violence.
Thank you, Elias. And as you say, the fact that it was the athletes themselves and not some far off consultant to which the athletes cannot relate, I think was hugely important and can be very, very beneficial.
Yeah, and it's good that they came up with a foundation, a very, very good foundation called Agnes Tirop's Angels. This is a foundation that is helping educate young kids. I mean, Agnes was very young, but what she did was amazing. She was educating quite a number of young underprivileged, kids. So this Agnes Tirop's Angels is taking over the good work that she started, helping pay school fees for the kids, helping educate people against, on the hazards of gender-based violence. So, yeah, Agnes might have gone, but she's left a very, very rich legacy, Anna.
That's lovely. Thank you, Elias.
Thank you.
The World Tour continued at the Cross Cup in Hainaut, Belgium on 20 February. Uganda's Olympic 3,000 meter steeplechase champion, Peruth Chemutai, took a clear victory in the senior women's race over Kenya's World Under-20 cross-country champion, Beatrice Chebet, and fellow Ugandan, Priska Chesang. Germany's Samuel Fitwi took a much closer senior men's race over Uganda's Rogers Kibet and Eritrea's Samuel Habtom. And on the road, 2 high-level events took place in consecutive days in Ras Al Khaimah and Sevilla, and course records for both men and women were set both in the United Arab Emirates and in Spain. The Ras Al Khaimah half marathon on 19 February, top honors went to Jacob Kiplimo and Girmawit Gebrizhair, both clocking the 4th best marks of all time. Uganda's half marathon world record holder was hoping to further improve his November mark and looked capable of doing it, improving the world 15 kilometers best by 22 seconds on the way, but he slowed in the final stages of the race, closing in 57.56, ahead of Kenyans Rogers Kwemoi, 58.30, and Kenneth Kirop Renju for 58.35. In the women's race, Ethiopia's Girmawit Gebrizhair, who had won World Under-20 bronze in 2018, led the field with 64.14, ahead of Kenya's Helen Obiri, 64.22, who improved her PB by 29 seconds, while Sheila Kiprotich ran the fastest ever time for third place with 64.36, and a total of 7 women broke 67 seconds. Now, Elias, Helen Obiri has been a dominant force in Kenyan track team for over a decade. She's been winning medals practically every major event from 2012 to 2021, and also took world cross-country gold in 2019. Now she's focusing on road races. Do you see her as potentially a dominant force in these events too?
Yeah, I think Helen has really planned her career very well. She reminds me very much of Eliud Kipchoge, winning the world championships in the 5,000 meters on the track in 2003 in Paris, and then getting onto the road and, becoming a legend in the marathon. Helen has had pretty much a similar path, dominating 5,000 meters on the track, cross country. And she's, said, I've had enough on the track. I'm ready now to go on the road. That's the mistake. The mistake many Kenyans or African athletes do is they get to the road too early. You find 18-year-olds, 19-year-olds running half marathons before even exhausting, experience on the track. Helen has been patient on the track. She's finished her career on the track, and I think she's one to look out for in the marathon. She's very, very calculated. Yeah, like you mentioned, you're running 64:22, breaking a personal best at Ras Al Khaimah, which means is good. I think she is somebody to look out for, not only in the half marathon, but also in the full marathon when she graduates to the 42K.
Thank you, Elias. Now, the Sevilla Marathon took place on 20 February, and the flat, fast course produced great results, including course records and world leads for both men and women. Ethiopian women trusted the podium, with Alemu Megertu setting a 2 hours 18:51 PB ahead of Sisai Meseret Gola 2:20:50 and Yeshi Kalayu Chekole 2:21:17. And Peru's Gladys Tejeda set a South American record with 2:25:57, improving the 2:14 mark of her compatriot Ines Melchor. Several athletes, both men and women, set national records, including Ayad Lamdasem of Spain, whose mark of 2 hours 06:25 for sixth spot is also the world over 40 record. At the top of the men's race, Ethiopia's Asrarar Abderrahman won in 2 hours 04:43, ahead of compatriot Adeladlo Mamo in 2:05:12, and Eritrea's 2:15 world champion Girmay Gebreselassie, who is back with a PB of 2 hours 05:34. And the depth of the race is shown by the fact that the top 19 finishers all broke 2 hours 10. Now, Elias, we saw top results in road races at the end of 2021, and 2022 has continued with very fast marks. Do you think this can be a bumper year for road races?
Yeah, I think it should be, because looking at last year, there weren't too many races because of COVID, of course. So the athletes didn't travel a lot. They didn't race too much, and their bodies in optimal shape. And yeah, we'll be seeing pretty fast times this year. Even in the World Marathon Majors, right from the Tokyo Marathon on March 6th, I think we'll see the course record going. I can put a bet on that. And yeah, with the athletes fresh, Eugene is another great prospect, a brand new stadium, brand new track, great weather in Oregon. Yeah, so I think it's going to be an amazing season, and yeah, we'll see very, very fast times.
Now, Elias, you mentioned the Tokyo Marathon on 6 March. Eliud Kipchoge will run his first ever Tokyo Marathon, facing an amazing field with 4 athletes with sub 2 hour 04 lifetime bests. Now, Kipchoge has said in the past that he wanted to win all 6 marathon majors. He has already won London, Berlin, and Chicago, some of them several times. Do you really think he now aims to win in Tokyo, Boston, and New York to complete the full set?
Yeah, Eliud is a very interesting person. He keeps on setting targets for himself. He keeps on raising the bar, which makes it quite exciting. When he won the Olympic title in Rio, he said he wants to break the world record. Then he ran 2:01:39 in Berlin. He said he wants to retain his Olympic title. He retained it in Tokyo. He said he wants to be the first person to win 3 Olympic titles in Paris. And again, he had already said that he wanted to become the first man to run a sub-2-hour marathon. He did that. So now you're asking yourself, what next? And here he comes up with a brilliant idea of sweeping all the majors. Like you mentioned, he's done Chicago, London, and Berlin, and off he goes to Tokyo. I think he's going to break Wilson Kipsang's record in Tokyo, and perhaps give a shot at the New York Marathon in November. I don't think he'll go to the World Championships in Eugene, because he says he already has a World Championship medal, although it's not in the marathon, but it's in the 5,000 meters. So he's really eyeing this very, very hard to beat target of 6 majors. And I think he'll do it, because they are spaced out well. They're actually playing in his favor. After running in Tokyo in March, he has enough time maybe to put in one small marathon somewhere in Europe before going to New York for his debut in the New York Marathon. And then he'll have only one race left, which is Boston Marathon. And perhaps he could run it in April next year before going to the Olympics. That's my thought. And I think, yeah, he has it in him to conquer this.
Thank you, Elias. Eliud is definitely an amazing athlete and human being. And this capacity to run, to find new challenges for himself is really fantastic.
He's like the Energizer Bunny. He keeps on going. When you think he's over, he keeps on going. I mean, very few will have thought that he'd easily defend his title in Tokyo, which he did. And he seems to be like Italian wine. He gets better as he grows older.
I love that. I love Eliud, and I love good Italian wine. Now, always on the roads, but in race walking, more countries staged their national continental championships ahead of the World Race Walking Team Championships scheduled for early March in Oman. And Australia's Jemima Montag set an area record at 20 kilometers race walk with 1:27:27, improving the mark set by race walking great Jane Saville back in 2004 by 17 seconds. Let's now leave athletics for a brief moment. 2 weeks ago, we spoke about Gianmarco Tamberi and his joy at being selected to play in the NBA All-Star Celebrity Game. On match day, Tamberi's performance did not go unnoticed, as the NBA website included a dunk from the Olympic gold medalist high jumper among 5 highlights of the match. Now, unfortunately, we have 2 more great champions who have left us. U.S. top 400-meter runner Roddy Haley passed away aged 56. He had won the NCAA championships in 1985 and 2 indoor titles at 500 meters before a stellar 1987, where he took gold in the 4x400 relay at both the Pan American Games and the World Championships. At Penn Relays in 1986, he ran a 400-meter split of 43:05 in the distance medley relay, the best in world history at sea level at the time, pushing the Arkansas team to a world best. A GoFundMe campaign was organized to help cover funeral expenses. And Bulgarian shot putter Ivanka Hristova passed away yesterday, aged 81. She had won the Olympic bronze in 1972, then improved to gold in 1976 in what was a glorious month for her, as she had twice broken the world record at the beginning of July. Rest in peace, Roddy Haley and Ivanka Hristova. Finally, let's take a look at what's coming up in the next 2 weeks as we reach the end of our show. Most countries are holding their national indoor championships this weekend as athletes chase qualifying spots in the World Indoor Championships next month. On the roads, the Osaka Marathon will be held on 27 February as an elite-only event. The World Indoor Tour continues with the final gold event in Madrid on 2 March and then 2 silver events, including one in Belgrade on 7 March in the arena which will host the World Indoors less than 2 weeks later. The World Racewalking Team Championships will be staged in Muscat, Oman on the 4th and 5th of March. The World Cross Country Tour resumes with a gold event in Albufeira, Portugal on 27 February, before the final leg in Cáceres, Spain on 6 March. And on 6 March, the Tokyo Marathon recently confirmed international participation with top fields for both men and women, including Kenya's standout duo, double Olympic champion Eliud Kipchoge and marathon world record holder Brigid Kosgei. So we're now at the end of our show. It was great having Elias with us.
Thank you, Anna. And one time when I'm elected a governor in Kenya, I'll build a stadium so that we can have national indoor championships for Kenya. These have never been held, never ever. So it will be interesting to see a national indoor championship in Kenya.
Well, that's true. You don't really need to compete indoors because your weather is great all the time. But Ferdinand Omanyala has shown that he's getting familiarized to indoor tracks, and we'll see. It could definitely help your athletes in World Indoor Championships and indoor tour events.
Yeah, and something about Ferdinand, the indoor tour meetings that he ran in have been helping him improve his first half because he's very weak off the blocks and the first 50 meters. So he's gradually improving with his takeoff indoors. And when he goes outdoors, he's already promised that he's going for the 9.858 world record for Usain Bolt. A very tall order, but like Eliud Kipchoge says, no human is limited.
Well, if he can manage 6:57 with a slow start, it'll be really interesting when he does improve that.
Exactly.
So thank you all for watching. And as we just saw, there's lots of action coming up, covering all aspects and disciplines of our sport. So stay tuned. See you in 2 weeks on Love Athletics to look together at the highlights, comments, and analysis of what's been happening in our sport over the past fortnight. Thank you so much. Thank you, Elias.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.